Hello and welcome to Remainders, the podcast that brings you discussions of movies, old, new, stuff that just doesn't even come out yet. We are joined every week by my co-host and friend, Patrick McIntyre. Pat, say hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Well, I am doing excellent. If you're joining us on YouTube, don't turn that dial, as they used to say, because we are here to talk about an incredibly crazy movie called Body Heat, starring Kathleen Turner and William Hurt. Basically, in the 80s, it was the modern version of Double Indemnity, which it was my first time seeing it this week. And I was surprised at how quickly I thought, man, is this Double Indemnity? Are we watching a remake of Double Indemnity? It is also the very first film by Lawrence Kasdan, who directed and wrote the film. And you might know Lawrence Kasdan from directing what movie, Pat?
Big Chill.
Okay, but also I think most people would know him from directing The Empire Strikes Back.
Wait a minute. I knew he wrote it. Wait a minute. Okay, so
I'm pretty sure he directed Empire Strikes Back too. And like, please, if I get this wrong, I'm going to feel like a total heel.
I mean, I know he wrote.
Maybe he didn't direct it. Wait, let's see. Did George Lucas direct Star Wars Empire Strikes Back?
I may be completely off, but no, he didn't direct Empire. He wrote it, so that's.
Okay, I got close.
Raiders, yeah, you got very close. He wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark and wrote Empire Strikes Back. Why is his name escaping me? I mean, we should be able to find this out right now.
But here's the thing: this was his first directorial debut, and I looked at his filmography after checking out. Of course you've heard the name Lawrence Kasdan, but when you check out his filmography and see all of the things that he's been involved in, it is pretty insane. And he was also part of 2015, The Force Awakens, as a writer, which is amazing. I didn't know that. And I love The Force Awakens.
It was Irvin Kershner who directed
Irvin Kershner, of course. How could I forget that?
Who went on to direct RoboCop 2 or 3, which is I've never seen because they're not worth watching.
What, you've never seen it? How do you know they're not worth watching if you haven't seen them?
Because everybody who is a diehard Robohead, like I am, very few, if any, are fans of the second or third one. So.
Amazing. Okay. Well, hey, everybody out there, I'm sorry. I fucked that up. Lawrence Kasdan did not direct it, but he did write a bunch of great movies, including Empire Strikes Back, but he did direct this one and wrote it, and it's Body Heat. So this is a neo-noir, but it's also, as they call them, erotic thrillers, which has actually been very big right now. Criterion has a whole list, and this is actually where I saw this film pop up. And the erotic thriller is kind of, I guess they would, what do you call that when they put them all together? That's they're curating these things these days. Yeah. So all of these films were on the Criterion, and I decided to watch it one day, and I liked it. I watched it about a week ago, and I really liked it. And I just, Pat and I were discussing what to talk about next, and I said, well, how about Body Heat? And he's like, I've seen bits and pieces. So now that you've seen the full film, what do you think?
I mean, I absolutely loved it. So I'm very surprised. I thought this was a movie that you were all in on for a long time. This is definitely way up your alley.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking up for you to kind of point out to all the, I knew it was basically a remake of Double Indemnity, but I'm sure there are other references to Hitchcock. So yeah, I'm actually just learning right now. This is the first watch for you. Because this is definitely right up your alley in terms of all the Hitchcock vibes and everything that you've been into. And I know you've been rocking that curation for the erotic 90s. So
yeah, and like I said, it's like a lot of podcasts are talking about like erotic 90s, erotic 80s, and it is an interesting, list to curate, because a lot of these like neo-noirs and stuff like that, they are like, I guess what makes them even more sexy is that they're like got this element of like, the double crossing or the person that you're attracted to and you have this like steamy romance with, but then they're the ones who are ultimately your demise, which is the case in this film, which is also the case in Double Indemnity, right? And there's murder, there's plots of a lot of deceit going on.
Relationships are a bitch, aren't they?
Yeah, relationships are a bitch. And this is 1981, so it's quite a while after. And I'm trying to think, has there been mm, has there been this close of a remake to Double Indemnity since then? I don't think so.
Plenty of homages. I'm thinking of, I don't know. I'm having images of plenty of movies that were like C and B level, like try to knockoffs of Hitchcock, but I don't think anybody's certainly not in the mainstream. Like this movie was pretty successful in '81, and to kind of go back to like what you were talking about, how much of there's been like a focus on like erotic '80s and '90s. I was really thinking, I mean, it's largely because movies are so sexless these days. There's very little nudity, there's very little sex in movies. And that's a byproduct of like corporations kind of taking the heat of movies. Also, the availability of porn and how ubiquitous that is. It's like movies don't have to fill in that gap for the average person who just wants to see naked people every once in a while anymore, when that was just kind of the standard back before technology took that over.
Gotcha. So I think what you're trying to say is a movie these days doesn't need to spend that much time going through and getting into the steamy parts of it, because they could just look it up online anytime they want. And that's, again, It's kind of like violence. Violence is like, it's got to be done the right way now, because like everybody's done it every single which way. It's like almost these days, what you don't show is the scariest thing, which is all back to the Hitchcock days.
And I'm definitely, I'm definitely talking mainstream. Like there's plenty of like fucked up movies that you can find in the indie scenes and whatnot throughout world cinema, especially, but mainstream US films, like this is what you would like body heat. If you went to the theater in '81, like this is like the feature that most people are going to be watching on a Friday or Saturday night. And that's just non-existent anymore.
Yeah, pretty amazing. So for all of you out there that are listening and want to know what this movie is about, if you haven't seen Double Indemnity, this movie follows closely that storyline. It's somebody who's in a position of sort of not really doing amazing in life. The character of Ned, played by William Hurt, rest in peace, by the way. And it's not like he's doing really terribly, but he's just kind of like in this position where he just kind of like slinks along and is like getting by, doing what he's doing, and kind of average guy, an average Joe. But he's a little hard boiled, just like Walter Neff is in Double Indemnity. He's got this kind of like little hard exterior, and he meets Matty, who's Kathleen Turner, who's married to someone who's very wealthy, and he doesn't really realize it, but she's playing him, and she has this ultimate goal to get rid of her husband, just like Double Indemnity. And so the story goes on where people are telling him to be careful. A lot of times people are telling him to be careful, which doesn't happen much in Double Indemnity. You're, as a viewer, you're very much with Walter Neff, and you kind of understand that like he's going down a road that he shouldn't go, but nobody else knows. In this film, nobody really knows, but they also know getting involved with her is trouble. And so even the guy who is played by Mickey Rourke, by the way, which I'm sure we'll talk about, he's the one who gives him the bomb and says like, you probably shouldn't do this, but here you go. So he gets entangled, and of course it blows up in his face. Pardon the pun there, because that's obviously how things unfold for the demise of Kathleen Turner's husband. But along the way, a lot of nudity and steamy scenes based in Miami, Florida, which the heat only adds to the drama, just like in Do the Right Thing.
Oh, it's a steamy movie, all right. Not as much sex as I was actually expecting. Like I said, like this is pretty common for the times. It was definitely a movie that was like seen as like this is the one to go to see if you want to see a bunch of people naked. But like this seems pretty tame at the time. William Hurt. So we could start on him. Fucking amazing. I love William Hurt. What would you say is like your go-to Hurt performance?
Oh man, it's so interesting. He's not like one of my favorite actors, but of course I know him in so many things. I really loved him, and I thought he played like an interesting character in The Village. I know that's probably not like one of his most famous roles, but nice. I actually did love him in The Village.
I forgot about that one. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the guy from Dune as well, right?
The original Dune, I've never seen
I
the
know, neither
original.
have I. That's why I'm saying I don't know. I'm trying to think about what his most like popular film has been.
Well, I mean, Broadcast News is definitely one of his more popular performances. I think he may have won an Oscar for that one. For me, it's a History of Violence. His 10-minute drop at the end as Vigo's brother and that was definitely nominated. He may have even won for that performance. That is kind of my perfect William Hurt performance. Just it's certainly my favorite. When he drops in that movie, he packs a wall up in such a short amount of time with Vigo. It's so good. Such a great David Cronenberg film. It's definitely on one that I would love to cover in later soon.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just looking at his filmography here, and there's a lot of looks like superhero movies. He was in the Hulk as well, which I didn't know. But he did pass away.
He was in the Eric Bana Hulk, the pre-Marvel.
Oh, right,
one,
right.
which I love, the Ang Lee one. Great.
He died in March of 2022 last year.
Yeah.
And he's got one hell of a mustache in this film.
Oh, it's so great. So the mustache. So he is a dope in this movie. Like he's not like an overt dummy, but he plays. I mean, they start the movie talking about like so his colleague played by Ted Danson, like just a year before Cheers.
Yeah.
He says a line. It's like you're finally using your lack of intelligence to get ahead or something like that. It almost sounded like he was doing it purposely, but not really. So it's like he's kind of coming off of a legal malpractice, and the way he carries himself, he's certainly not like an overt idiot or anything, but he comes off as like someone who could kind of easily take advantage of. And that's when I kind of noticed that, I was like, all right, this guy's already the patsy in this movie. I can already tell.
Right, but there is like this hard-boiled like component, yeah. and probably which is why, like, because he's so hard-headed is probably why he doesn't listen to any of the advice that he's getting. Right. But it's a kind of like a perfect mix of that, and he plays it really well, I think.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, there's the line that Kathleen Turner, Matty says, you aren't too smart, are you? I like that in a man. It's like when they're like courting, like at the bar, I think when they were saying that and first kind of like having their tango, it just like perfectly captures his kind of solo vibe that he gives off. So
yeah, and he's got this really great scene where he has dinner with the man that he ends up killing, Matty's husband. Yeah, and that scene I thought William Hurt was so good in. He does play it like, again, because he can kind of play like the dummy that can, totally get taken advantage of by Kathleen Turner. But when he's at that dinner, I feel like he's really playing her husband really well, and that's a credit to William Hurt's acting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so you do believe so? Kathleen Turner is like such a good gives such a good performance in this. And halfway through, it kind of blew my mind because I rewatched Who Framed Roger Rabbit a couple of weeks ago, and this is basically the movie that she did the performance from. It's like she almost like duplicated this performance in Body Heat for Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Wow.
It's like to a T. It's like playing the same character, same kind of voice, same kind of vibe that she's doing, obviously through a cartoon character, Roger Rabbit. But halfway through, I was like, God damn, this is exactly why she was hired as Jessica Rabbit for that movie.
And the other thing about her is she's got such a great career. I mean, I think my favorite film of hers has got to be Serial Mom. I mean, I'm sure you love that too. John Waters at his like peak best. One of those.
That's definitely movies on our list to watch.
Oh yeah.
But what I was going to say really quick,
go ahead.
She's so like alluring that like that's why I feel like his character Ned is genuine in that scene in that dinner scene that you were talking about. Like he's not necessarily smart, but he's being led by lust in that scene, and he's going to take what it needs to be done to like trick his husband into thinking that everything's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like that amazing scene where like he kind of plays it a little bit like this, where that scene in Royal Tenenbaums where Richie Tannenbaum is on the roof and he's like finds out, that something, what was it, she Gwyneth Paltrow was cheated on, or what happened. He's like, what should we do? Should we get him? And then he punches his hand through the window.
Oh, right,
It's
right,
so
right.
like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
understated like jealousy and rage inside the character, but like the other characters don't know that like they care so much about this other person. I feel like that's got a little bit of that in that scene where he's at the table, because he's just like he's being on his best game because he knows he wants to be with her.
So good. Richard Crenna, which I really haven't seen him in anything other than like the Rambo movies and Hot Shots Part Judah, which he plays the same exact character in that one. So it was actually awesome to see him, because he was a character actor for many years before the Rambo movies. Just not really a lot of TV and a lot of TV movies, it seems like. So it's pretty awesome to see him like in this kind of noir style movie outside of like a Sylvester Stallone action movie.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, is like when you get into like these 80s kind of decade movies, you see some of those like reoccurring character actors come back like him, and it feels nice. It's like, oh, awesome, I really love that. And I also love like these days, if like there's like a really old version of them that like somebody like obviously was a fan of this like unknown kind of character actor that you just saw pop up in every film, and then they put him in like a newer film, and like there's just some people in the audience that are like, that guy, I love that guy.
Oh,
But going back to Kathleen Turner a little bit, like that deep voice of hers, so perfect for a noir movie. And also like there's something about her in these early films where I think this was her one of her first films, if not the first film, where she kind of like blew onto the scene. And yeah, she's a different kind of beauty. She's not like this um she's got some danger in her, I guess is the point. And it is alluring, you know what I mean? It's like, this is something I shouldn't be a part of, but it just draws you in more and more, and she's perfect for that. Did you ever see the Romancing the Stone films?
I saw Romancing the Stone. I almost saw it again at the Music Box not that long ago when they did the Zemeckis series.
Oh, that's right, that's Zemeckis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing about, again, that's why they did Zemeckis, because he's been like so ubiquitous and like in the helm of like so many big movies for 40 years. But his name is not always like the first thing you attach to those movies. It's been so long since I've seen it. I saw it in like high school, maybe even middle school.
I can like feel it right now, having like the taped versions off of the television and like
Yeah,
the VHSs. Oh, man, I used to watch those all the time, and it's been a while too since I've seen them. But there was like Jewel of the Nile, Romancing the Stone. I don't know if it was a trilogy or not. Maybe just 2 films. But anyway, she was freaking awesome in those, and so was Michael Douglas. And like such a weird, like he's like an adventurer guy,
Yeah.
And I really, really loved her from those. And of course, like I said, Serial Mom. But seeing her in this, I had like I don't know. We talked about this, I guess, a couple episodes ago when we were talking about Body Double, and you were mistaking it for this title. So maybe that's like the thing is it kind of gets like lost in the mix of all these things, because it's got Body Heat, Body Double. And when I saw the name, I think I was just like, oh, I got to see this. I remember you mentioning that you had seen a little bit of it. And I'm so glad I did, because like Kathleen Turner, I had kind of forgotten a little bit about what she's been doing and what she's been up to and how much I really loved her as an actress. And now that I've seen this, I'm like even more like, damn, I got to check out more movies she's been in.
Yeah, no, so this is her first movie, first film. She's on a TV series before that, but this is her first one. And yeah, she's got that husky kind of voice. Super sexy. She's hot as hell in this movie. I was wondering, so she's like full on naked on some parts, but they do have some close-ups. So I was wondering if they were using like stunt butts, which was not an unheard of thing
Right.
for a long time. So
Yeah.
wondering if that was going on for both of them actually. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like I said, using Zemeckis, using her for Rabbit, because like she just embodies this role like so perfectly. And she is like I said, I could even tell that he was being set up, but not necessarily directly by her. Like that's how good she is. It's she's so obvious that she is the one orchestrating everything the whole time once you watch the whole movie. But even if you kind of like knowing that in the front of your mind at the beginning, it's like she's still so convincing, especially with the sex scenes and everything that she's doing to kind of entrap him. It seems genuine.
You're right. So this femme fatale character, I mean, she gets him. He is drawn in and he's all in on killing her husband, which she does, but he says, let's not be greedy. We can get away with this if we do it the right way. But then he gets to the will, the reading of the will. And there's that great scene where the guy's like, one of the lawyers is like, does anybody mind if I smoke? And everybody in the room lights up because everybody, it's like the tension is so thick. Love that scene. That was so well written and so well done.
I was cracking up when they did that slow pan and everybody's nestling into their smoke. They're like, oh shit, we're going to be here for a while talking about this death and the consequences of it.
Right. And then I love the fact that they make William Hurt's character tell her, like, this basically means that you inherit all of it and none of his family is going to get any of it. It was such a great little thing to like add a little bit of the twist of the knife, you know.
She's like, oh, I'm gonna get everything. That's crazy.
And that's the thing is William Hurt knows if that happened, it's gonna look, you know, it's gonna be red flagged, and it is, of course.
Yeah.
So then he leaves basically the courtroom and goes back, and then he's got good old Sam Malone from Cheers, who has already had one of his beers from the fridge, of course, sitting there waiting to tell him like, "Yo, what are you in? You know, you're in some trouble if you're involved with her."
His line, someday your dick is going to lead you into a very big hassle. It kind of sets up the entire movie itself right there. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the first half is like, yeah, he was led pretty easily into considering murder just for this woman that he happens to be banging at the time. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I will tell you that by that point, you know, as an audience member, you still don't really, I mean, you pretty much figure that he is like, you know, in trouble, but you're not sure they're going to get caught. You're not sure how it's going to play out. It's actually the end half of the film is does a pretty good job of keeping you on the edge of your seat, I'd say.
Yeah, totally. Like I said, like I felt pretty early on that he was gonna get the blame for something, but it definitely went in a lot of different directions than I was not expecting. So, and that's the thing. It's like I've talked about this. It's like plot movies are like only plot. Like it just doesn't always. It's not always like the first thing I look for in watching a movie, but like when you have a movie like this where the performances are so good and it's more of like the vibe rather than the actual plot mechanics that gives you everything that you need to know. Like that's what I love about it. So,
and I always love like in films when there's like these little things that they add on to the characters that you just know are like their things, and like it's kind of like a little like fun thing, and that happens with Ted Danson's character. Whenever he goes into that diner, they like give him 2 iced teas, you know, like they know him. Like it just gives like the audience the understanding that like these guys go here all the time, and like this is like the kind of guy he is, that he like always has to have 2 of these. And those are just like little moments in movies that I love. Just so well done, like kind of adding to the character and how cool they are.
It's so fucking hot that he needs 2 iced teas. So yeah.
Yeah, and they're obviously adding to the fact that like you can't feel the heat, so like they're doing whatever they can to let you know it's really fucking hot here. And he even says, William Hurt says to the little girl who that's a crazy scene. There's a little girl that like walks in, like, you know, there is 2 instances where people find out in Kathleen Turner's world that she's having an affair, most likely, and one is the little girl of like her best friend, right? And she sees him having sex. And then there's that scene where he's like, I'm sorry it's so hot in our town for you, when he sees her again. And like, it's obvious, like this little girl has seen me boning Kathleen Turner. And then the other one is when he comes to the back of the gazebo and he tells that girl's mother, what does he say? He says something like, I don't know, something like, you take off your clothes or something. She turns around and is like, oh, okay, you guys are fucking, but like, you know, you thought
What
I
he
was Kathleen Turner.
mistakes? No,
Yeah,
so
he
that's
mistakes.
that's the double, right? That was her friend that they switched.
Right. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. He walks up to her. He's like, "Hey, we should fuck." And
Yeah.
then she just turns around. He's like, "Holy shit! Sorry for
Yeah.
saying that."
Yeah. He's like, now I feel like a jerk.
Well, that's a perfect example of like he's being, he's being himself, but also like he's just kind of a dummy. He even says to himself, "I got to be more careful with this shit if I'm going to be having sex with this married woman in this estate."
But then, like, that's the same thing as like he tells like his friends who are basically going to bust him, like, and he knows he's like walking the razor's edge. He's like, I'm going to keep going over there,
Right,
and
right.
maybe I'll get lucky and she'll fuck me to death. Great line.
His dick is leading him into a very big hassle, as Danson warned him, very much so.
Yeah, it's cool to see Ted Danson in that role. He is it's because you know how big of an actor he is. I mean, Ted Danson these days, like every time you turn on the television, I feel like you're going to see him in something, you know. Like there was a while there for like the last 10 years where he was in like everything.
You got to remind me. Yeah, what has he's been doing a lot of like TV work, right?
I mean, he's
Pretty much
doing a
only
ton,
TV.
yes, and a lot of stuff with HBO. Like, what was that show? I can't remember the name of it, but he did it with Jason Schwartzman.
The Schwartzman and Galifianakis, yeah.
Yeah,
Bored to death, right?
yep. And
I
then
did watch some of that. Yeah,
he was also
and
in Fargo. I want to say season 1 or season 2. Then he was also in.
I haven't kept up with that. He's always popped up in Curb every once in a
Yes,
while
and
for like
Curbed,
the
of
last
course.
20 years. So that's where I've kind of kept up with him. But yeah, it's
But yeah, he's always kind of just making an appearance somewhere, and I love it. It's like I feel like he just kind of does what he wants, you know. And somebody approaches him with something cool, he's like, "All right, I'll do it," you know.
I mean, he's got like like The Good Place. He's like a long running sitcom. It seems like he was on like CSI. I thought he did like something with CSI for a while, for a couple of years. So a bunch of years. And it's like, yeah, he's been doing like CBS TV, which I was thinking about the other day. When you look at the numbers, the amount of people who still watch like CBS and like CSI and all those shows, it's like it's astounding how many people still watch those those stations and those shows. It's like you never hear anybody talking about that. It's just like an example of like disconnect of like social media and online discussions about stuff.
I'm glad
like
you brought that up because
nobody's like watching CSI and going on Twitter and talking about it.
Right. It's kind of like basic television stations now,
Yeah.
right? Like just like your basic 5, 9, 2,
Right.
7.
It's like the large older population who still have cable. Those are the people bulking up those numbers across the country.
Well, so after we watched 6 Feet Under, my like 5th time watching the series and my girlfriend's first, she was telling me, she's like, oh, I was like looking up all the characters. Finally, I get to like look at what everybody's been doing, so I don't have any spoilers. And then she was mentioning that Peter Krause has been on like the #1 television show on either NBC or whatever, that cop show. And I was like, that's the #1 show. And she's like, yeah.
It is a cop show, isn't it? Yeah, I knew he was on something either as like a firefighter or a cop.
Yeah.
I've definitely never seen it, but that's the #1 show. Like
that's what she said. Mm-hmm.
I mean, but there's probably a lot of different metrics like time slots and days and whatnot. But I believe it. It's like that's the thing. It's like the amount of TV shows that do get produced for normal.
Well, because we would say
shows, so.
Peter Krause, yeah, we heard he was on some like, you know, television show as a police officer, and you know, but yeah, it's on like basic cable. We don't watch it, but but #1 show. It's fucking awesome, you know, and because we love Peter Krause, of course, we love Nate Fisher.
Oh my god, so great.
So back to Body Heat. I mean, you're a fan. You liked this film.
I loved it. I had such a great time watching it. And it was because like I was so in on it instantly because I was familiar with it and like I said, like familiar with Kasdan, like I mentioned, The Big Chill is really great. And I was definitely aware that he was the writer for like Raiders and Empire and the newer Star Wars as well. So I was really interested in seeing it. And yeah, I knew it had some sort of Hitchcock illusion. And so once it started, I was like, oh, this is pretty clearly Double Indemnity. And then that's what I was really in on it, like thinking like, well, this is definitely a movie that Darren was all in on. And that's why I was surprised that you had not seen it before.
Well, that's like why I kind of mentioned us covering this. It's been a while since the two of us have watched a movie that we both hadn't seen, don't you think? I mean, when's the last time we've covered a film where we're just kind of like reaction films of the first time seeing it?
Like Elvis is the only other one that I could think of us doing that, because like all the movies that kind of the point of the podcast is like showing the shit that we like and want other people to see. So yeah, we really haven't seen too much that neither of us has watched.
But you're right. As soon as I got into it, I was like, man, this feels so Hitchcock. This feels so Double Indemnity. This feels so noir. And of course, that's like my favorite genre. So I was really, really into it. I was very satisfied with the way that it ended. Of course, like, spoiler alert for anybody who's watching or listening and does not want to know, you can turn off right now. But William Hurt ends up going to jail, but he's sitting there thinking about it. You know, how did she get away with this? How did she do it? And the ending is pretty satisfying because it also leads it up to us. Like, did she really like William Hurt? You know, and she got away with it. Yeah, she's on an island with some, boy toy or whatever. And she switched her name with the person from high school. And he found out when he got the yearbook in jail. And he's like, oh, so that's how she did it. But of course, nobody's listening to him and nobody cares about him because he's in jail. So he's rotting away. But she got away with it. But is she really happy? It seems like she's almost in a jail of herself. The way that she reacts in the ending of the film, I kind of really liked the way that this ended. It was kind of satisfying for me because I didn't really know if she felt like, wow, I got away with it and now I'm happy. I felt like she got away with it and now she's like, but I really liked William Hurt and now there's no chance for that.
Yeah, they definitely leave the end shot of her looking pretty miserable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely, I believe she had feelings for him, but at the same time, it's like
she has feelings for all that money too.
Right. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's my pessimistic view on it, but like, her plan went off more than perfectly. I still find it pretty fucking hilarious that like, so the way she initiated the meeting was hearing through a friend about Ned, that he was just kind of like this kind of terrible lawyer who suffered from legal malpractice, and that's why she chose him she targeted him because she knew this was somebody who I could kind of seduce, and then when it comes to doing the lawyer work for the will, he's probably going to be doing it wrong, which led to her owning everything in the inheritance.
Right.
And so it's like, I love that, like, that's such like out on a limb thing. It's like, oh, well, this guy's not that great of a lawyer, so hopefully he'll fuck up at the right time, which will result in me getting
big
everything.
Hope. Yeah, it's a big hope there. Yeah.
Unless there was something in the plot that I missed, but like that seemed to be the crux because she knew about the Gorson case, I think he called it, which was his legal malpractice. And that's what kind of led her to target him in the first place. So
right.
Like,
and that's why I said when we started talking about this that he's kind of like not down on his luck, but he's just kind of like an average Joe that just, it hasn't had a lot of luck. He's just kind of slinking by in life and doing the best he can. But he's got, for some reason, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, which kind of unwarranted.
I fucking loved the yearbook at the end.
Yeah.
So he gets the letter, and it's the high school yearbook for the Wheaton Cougars. And the opening of the letter says, "Here is the Wheaton Cougar you asked about." Like, okay, Kathleen Turner is the cougar he's asking about, I guess now. But yeah, so he looks up and he sees the friend, which is under Matty's name. So he sees that they switch names. And when he gets Kathleen Turner's picture and her quote and everything, they call her the Vamp, which is another name for a femme fatale. Yeah, like that's either her own nickname in high school or something that they gave to her. are friends, and then her quote is, "To be rich, or where do you see yourself in the future? To be rich and live on an exotic island." Cut to her living on an exotic island.
Exactly. She got exactly what she wanted.
Yeah, it's like almost like eye rolling, but it like works so fucking great.
You're right. It's like you want to roll your eyes, but you're like, God damn it, it's great, you know?
No, it definitely works. It's fucking great. But I like that. Once the switch, I instantly had the thought of like the doubles, the double, which is like a constant Hitchcock theme, and just noir in general. So the two blondes, and like especially when he walks, like that scene we mentioned, when he walks up to the other girl in the gazebo, the mistaken her, it's like, oh, that's going to be the switch right there. There's going to be something with those two characters.
Yeah, really well done. And yeah, I'm sorry I boned that Lawrence Kasdan directed Star Wars, but he directed this film, and I thought the direction was actually done really well. There's like kind of like that end scene where it is on her, and then it kind of like pans up, and then you see like the credits roll. I don't know. Back in the 80s, I think that was kind of like nobody was really doing stuff like that, you know?
I mean, the best directed scene, or at least one of my favorite scenes, is like that first when they first meet at her house, when they're when he finally breaks through the window to like, and then they start to fuck for the first time.
That was
it's
great.
Like, just like the whole scene of leading up to it. So he goes, they go back to her house together. She kicks him out. He stands at his car, just looking at the house. He walks back in, and she's just standing there, like in the middle of her own house, just looking out the window. And he's going from like window to window, like a fucking like tiger, like about to attack her, and then he decides to just break the fucking window with a chair, and I was dying laughing. It was so
I know it's like a little like unnecessary drama there, but I guess what they're trying to do is like she's playing with him so that like I'm gonna make him want it so bad that he can't like fucking help himself, and he's got to break through the fucking door or break the window. And yeah, it's hilarious. He breaks the fucking window. He's just inside like a second ago.
It's so great. It's like she kicks him out, and she, what is it? Like, I forget what he says, but like she kisses him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just weak," and then closes the door on him. It's like, oh, that's a perfect setup.
Totally. Yeah, really. And he's got by the way, a kick-ass car too. It's like some kind of like red convertible. It's like adds so much to this like neo-noir feel.
That's the thing. He's got this kick-ass car, kick-ass mustache. I mean, it looks awesome in this movie. It's definitely very believable that the first half of this movie is he's just having this hot, steamy affair with Kathleen Turner. Looking great.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I really don't have too much else to say about this film other than I just loved it. If you're out there and you haven't seen the film, you'll enjoy it. I mean, there's no doubt. This movie has a lot to enjoy. And let's just say you want to have a really good time watching two people fuck around. This movie's for you. It also has all of those good Hitchcock and Double Indemnity, old noir feels that I love especially. And so like, it's weird because I feel like those films can't like really exist anywhere than like the 40s, you know, but they obviously do. And it's just weird for me sometimes going to see a movie in the 80s thinking like, oh, this is kind of like, what if this was a movie in the 40s though? It would be so fucking perfect, you know. It's like exactly that kind of a style. And so, you know, it could be like Gloria Graham playing that, you know, Kathleen Turner role.
Hell yeah. I'm just thinking like them doing this in like the 80s for like Hitchcock is basically us, anybody making a movie referencing John Carpenter now.
Yeah.
And I truly believe John Carpenter will only rise in influence and prominence over the next 50 years. I think his name will be on the level of Hitchcock, purely for the influence and what he's done for like thrillers and horror and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I see that to be the case. I think that's how strong and influential his movies have been. So,
yeah, I definitely agree, and I think that, you know, the way that you look at his filmography and everything, and then the fact that he has kind of stopped making films, it's kind of like he knows the kind of films he wanted to make, and he's done that. And I don't think he could make those kind of films anymore. Like the world has changed a lot, you know, kind of like seeing. The other day, Scorsese had like put in his story that Francis Ford Coppola was on Instagram, and of course, like clicked on it and wanted to follow it. And it was always interesting. His like first post was just a picture of him and as like an, you know, older man. And he's like, to be elder, it was like a post about being elderly. And what's great about being elderly is that you can tell stories like your grandpa did, or, you know, like through the family. And because he's got a new film coming out, so I'm sure that's why they're doing it. But like, I don't know. What would John Carpenter film be like now? You know, would it have impact? I don't know.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's his heyday in the 80s and early 90s. I mean, he's on record. Like he doesn't even want to make a movie. Like he just doesn't like the process of filmmaking anymore. He's a perfect old man grump these days, and he still is like fully dedicated to like fans and everybody that love his movies. So he's like still engaged. He just doesn't want the hassle of being on a set directing a movie anymore. So
yeah, totally.
which is like there's something endearing. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to do a good job, so I'm just not going to do it. So
I mean, I guess that's kind of what Tarantino's been saying, you know, with this next movie coming up.
Yeah, Tarantino is more of I think he's seeing it as like a history. Like he believes in himself. I think if he wanted to make more movies, he would be like, yeah, I'm going to make great fucking movies. But I think he's just more of looking at it from legacy. Like a 50-year lens. Like, what is my legacy going to be in 50 years? I think
he's acutely aware of that for sure.
I think that's his driving. I saw some pushback on him. Like a lot of people like accusing him of like cowering as an artist because he's not going to make any more movies or something. And it's just like is like such a horrible take. Like because they were like claiming like, oh, he just doesn't want to be he doesn't want to risk making a bad movie. It's like his entire career has been one risk after another. His entire like everything he's done has been a risk. And just because he doesn't want to actually make movies anymore, he's going to be making art in all other mediums, like writing and stage and whatnot. So
right, you don't just like stop being an artist. Maybe you just stop using that medium, which is filmmaking, to tell your stories. And you're right, it's risk after risk, and that's why his films are so fucking great. I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 3 days ago.
Oh yeah.
You know, for like the 20th time. Come on.
I mean, there's a kind of a contrarian. There's a lot of people who do not like Tarantino, which is fine, but like they push back on him, I think largely because of his personality and also the just how kind of generally adored most of his films are. So, you know, you're always going to have like that natural pushback. So to get likes, especially in the age of social media. So
but that's the thing is like Tarantino's eccentricity has always been there. It's not like this is new. He's been fucking fuck you if you don't like this and what I'm saying, fuck you, you know, this is the way I am. And, you know, autograph hounds outside trying to get his shit. He's like, hey, fuck off, you know, like it kind of like your favorite director did the other day when, you know, Avatar came out and everyone's like, yeah, James Cameron didn't sign autographs. And he just put his middle finger up out the window of his car. It's like, fuck you guys.
I didn't see it. I got to look that up.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I need you as my TMZ source, because I
100% saw it on TMZ.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm always researching James Cameron's career, but not his paparazzi interaction. So that's why I need you to give that to me. Man, yeah. I was out at a cafe and I swear to God, there was a guy who looked just like Cameron. I almost took a picture of him. It wasn't him, but like this guy, he looked almost like his twin. No, just some random guy at a cafe. I was sitting there.
Looked like who though? I didn't miss
James Cameron.
Oh, James Cameron.
He looked just like him. I was like,
dude. By the way, what film? First Reformed. I think I forgot to say it. Like the guy who's like fixes the organ or whatever in that film. Like, by the way, everyone listening out there, we covered First Reformed last week. So if you want to go back and watch, but that's what I'm referring to. When we were talking about First Reformed in the film, there's a guy that looks just like James fucking Cameron, and I thought for sure, I'm like, Pat picked this film because James Cameron like made a cameo in it. Do you know the guy I'm talking about?
I mean, I know the organ scene when they're fixing the organ. You're saying one of those guys looks like James Cameron?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to look it up now, but like, it's definitely not him. I would assume so. But I'll definitely have to rewatch that part. So it's hilarious.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
Any last thoughts on Body Heat? Ebert put it on his top 10 of the year when it came out.
oh, he did in 81, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I actually got, all right, maybe we can kind of close it with this. I got a quote, a back and forth from Pauline Kael and Roger Ebert when the movie came out.
Okay, I
So-
can't wait for this. Let's hear it.
Pauline Kael, she didn't like it. She dismissed it, citing, quote, insinuating hotted up dialogue that it would be fun to hoot at if only the husband sleepwalking manner of the film, or the hushed sleepwalking manner of the film, didn't make you cringe or yawn. Let's think about like, well, film criticism in general, but like especially Kael, it's like the poetic prose that you had with the film critics back then. This is why Tarantino was probably making the movie.
100%. And by the way, we should probably end every single like one of these episodes of Remainders with what Pauline Kael had to say about the film, Well,
she stopped covering movies in like the early 90s. So for every movie pre-90 that we do, we could definitely do that.
Yep.
So that was her response. And like I said, Ebert put it in his top 10 of that year, and he responded in print to her. So he said, yes, Lawrence Kasdan's Body Heat is aware of the films that inspired it, especially Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity. But it has a power that transcends its sources. It exploits the personal style of its stars to insinuate itself. Kael is unfair to Turner, who in her debut role played a woman so sexually confident that we can believe her lover, William Hurt, could be dazed into doing almost anything for her. The moment we believe that, the movie stops being an exercise and starts working. It's like, boom, mic drop from Ebert talking to Kael.
Dude, I love the Ebert mic drops. My favorite, I mean, one of the most like iconic is the one with Vincent Gallo. You know that one, right?
I know that he hated Brown Bunny, and then there was like a back and forth.
Do you remember what the quote was from Ebert?
I do. He said something about Gallo said something about his weight, and then Ebert was something about like, yeah, I'll still be fat and you'll still have always made a terrible
No,
movie.
he said, yeah,
basically.
But he said
that was it.
Yeah, Brown Bunny got screened, and he, I think, tore it apart. You didn't like it.
Yeah, we gave it like 0 stars.
Yeah, and Vincent Gallo's like went off on a tirade and just said like, "You're a fucking fat fuck, like obsolete." I'm paraphrasing, but it was definitely about his weight. He hit him with about his weight, and then Ebert goes, yeah, I may be fat, but I can always lose weight. You'll always be the director of Brown Bunny. Oh man, Ebert, so good. Anyway, this movie's great. Loved it. Mickey Rourke, by the way, awesome. Young Rourke, I think boxing his way to surgeries. Really great role.
Have you ever seen
good cast?
What's his The Pope of Greenwich Village?
Yeah, he's in that. He's also in that Angel Heart, or I forget. But anyway, yeah, he was in a lot of movies back then that he was like a heartthrob, so
I've always heard Pope is very good, but I've never checked it out.
Actually, to be honest with you, I don't think I've seen it either. Okay. I know the name, of course, but yeah.
Because I should watch more, because the Wrestler is it's certainly my favorite movie.
So good.
From the director is escaping me right now, but that's my favorite movie of his.
Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, that's definitely way up there, because I've watched and rewatched that movie so many times. Like I was saying last week with like kind of First and Foremost, like that type of character study is just like, that's like what I'm so attracted to. Like that's the type of vibe that I just really get on board with in film in general, among other things, but like those are just the ones that I can watch and rewatch over and over.
Randy the Ram, after I watched The Whale, which was excellent. It's like basically the same
haven't seen.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, you need to fucking see it. It's great. It's a lot like The Wrestler in that way, so I think you'll enjoy it. But The Wrestler, after we watched The Whale, my girlfriend had never seen it, and she just loved it. I mean, she loved it. And Darren Aronofsky, like, those two films fucking rule. Everything else to me, I don't know. I like Black Swan. But
I remember back in the day you being ambivalent about him.
Yeah, it was like that was definitely Suncoast days. He was making like Pie and Requiem for a Dream. Those are the films that, you know, we were around in the movie store talking about.
I mean, I could see being ambivalent about that. But, I think it's fucking great. Like even his like crazy movies that nobody liked, like Mother. I had like such a great time watching that movie. It was so off the wall. Oh yeah, it was great. I don't think I'm gonna watch it again, but
hard disagree there.
I don't think I'm gonna watch it again, but I definitely enjoyed the experience of it. It was a one-timer, but I definitely liked what he was going for there.
Yeah, so. Especially when the baby gets tossed around at the end, right? Yeah, I'm sure that was like your favorite part. I mean, that's fucking hard to watch, dude.
That's right. Yeah.
Hard to watch.
That's the shit I'm here for.
Yeah.
The bonkers.
It is bonkers for sure. Well, anyway, Body Heat, great film. Thanks for watching it with me, the first time watch. And everybody out there, let us know what you think in the comments here. We're on YouTube usually, where you can see us visually. And then we're also on every podcast host that you could possibly have for free. All you got to do is check it out. And if you're looking for a place and you don't know where to go to remainderspod.com and you can find everything there. You've got all the social media. I've been kind of amping up our social media a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed with the trip to the Hollywood Museum the other day.
Oh, you looked like, I was so jealous. It looked like such an awesome time. There were so many good exhibits that I'm sure you were just like, fuck yeah.
Well, the one thing I didn't send you because I didn't want to go crazy, but like even Marianne said when we were there, she's like, do not fucking take photos this whole time. Like I couldn't help myself, you know. She's like, but don't send Pat like every single photo that you have in your thing. And so then I had the idea. I'm like, well, I'll make a reel about it so you can kind of see it. But the one photo I didn't send you was they had this like amazing photo of Leslie Nielsen as, you know, vampire. And I was like, oh, why didn't I send Pat this instead of the Jason Goes to Hell mask?
Yeah, both would have been totally excited. I'm happy you opted for the Final Friday one, which is a great Friday, the 13th movie, and yeah, that looked pretty awesome. But I mean, every one of them would have been applicable. That Back to the Future one looked pretty awesome.
Yeah, totally. You know, it's cool because I think like the more and more out here, I always do stuff that has to do with the movies. Obviously, that's why we do this podcast. We love the movies, and it's one of the great passions of our lives, and you know, things that make us happy, happiest, I should say. And they, you know, there's always something I'm doing that has to do with the movie. So I just kind of made this decision that like in between our episodes, whenever I like post about it or whatever, maybe to get some new people interested and understand what we do and who we are, maybe I can post some of those things to like, you know, let them see something that might excite them the way that we're excited about like museums and locations, and then find out about our podcast that way. So hopefully that'll work. And it's done. That reel did better than any of the other stuff I've ever posted. So we'll see.
Yeah, it didn't have our ugly faces on it, so people are more excited to check it out a little bit. So
totally. But anyway, yeah, that was fun. And then this tomorrow, going up the hill in Griffith Park to the Greek Theater to see Lost Boys.
Ooh, so
picnic,
good.
Hang out, Lost Boys in the park with my lady. I mean, can't fucking beat it, dude. I mean, really.
I saw that maybe 10 years ago at a screening that Corey Feldman appeared for. So I think it was at what's that dining theater in the burbs?
Oh, where we grew up? Hollywood Boulevard. Or yeah.
I saw it there with Corey Feldman premiering it. So
I saw Back to the Future there with Christopher Lloyd, Emma. Is it Emma Thompson who played
Leah
Thompson?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Both of them were there. No Michael J. Fox, but they were raising money for Michael J. Fox's thing. By the way, did we talk about the Michael J. Fox documentary yet?
Yeah, we mentioned we both watched it last week.
That's right.
Our thoughts on it and how great it was and how illuminating it was on his life and the grind that is his life, but how he still managed to keep his voice alive.
You're right. Now I remember we talked pretty in depth about it. And yes, excellent. I would, if you happen to have the Apple streaming service, check it out because I think it's only on Apple right now, or I guess in the select theaters, right? You saw it at the Cisco.
Yeah, I did. I'm just, my memory's just going really quick. Just flashbacks to that theater. I got to look for it. I have a picture that I had signed. I went to a Reservoir Dogs screening at Hollywood Boulevard, and
Michael Madsen
and Carradine were both there, and I had something signed from both of them. It was before Carradine's death, obviously, and I have not seen that piece for years, so I should probably do some searching through whatever few boxes I have.
Similarly, there was a stand-up that went with a DVD at Suncoast when Back to the Future came out. I think the trilogy actually came out at the same time, or it's like you could buy all three. And I still have the DVD. Obviously, I always talk about it in my brother's attic, but there was a stand-up, and usually you get to take those things home, or just trash them at the end.
We fought over those.
I know. I have Indiana Jones still. Yeah, I have an Indiana Jones cutout. Yes, we fought over those for sure.
Yeah.
Probably dumpster dived half of them because you weren't allowed to take them out sometimes. But the Back to the Future one that has Christopher Lloyd and the out of time thing, and they're looking, it was just like them two, and it was at the topper. I had Christopher Lloyd sign that at in 2010. That's when I went there. Yeah,
that's so great. Oh, what a treat. And man, speaking of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that's a fucking crazy performance that Lloyd gives in that movie.
Like, that guy is iconic.
Yeah, but it was so dark. Like it was one of those examples of like 80s movies for kids. Like they did not give a fuck like what nightmares they were going to be inducing in children watching. Because some of those scenes, it's like you don't see anything like that would be pushed for as like kids film.
Little monsters and shit like that. Yeah. Like stuff that's like specifically geared for kids. Like scary as shit.
Return to Oz is always, I think, one of the quintessential, where it's like that's pure nightmare fodder, and it was like just 100% produced for kids. And
dude, even like Never Ending Story, it's like, dude, fucking horse. What the
most heartbreaking scene? Losing Atreyu.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's fucking dies in quicksand. Thank God they bring him back at the end when Falcor is flying around. Otherwise, I would have cried the entire end half of that movie. Oh man. Yeah, some great stuff back in our youth.
No bumpers for the kids back in the day.
No trigger warnings either. You just you saw what you saw, right?
Well, there's some major damage right there. Roll on.
Yeah, maybe that's why we've turned out the way we have. Huh?
Right.
Okay, what else is going on? Anything cool? So I'm going to see Lost Boys. You got anything going on in your life that's worth talking about?
I mean, my whole life. Love it. Living the dream. I saw Halloween last week, which was a great show.
Oh, right.
Fall. Awesome at the Riv. The only thing that kind of really was a bummer is the amount of fucking phones that are just at shows these days. I mean, it was kind of an older crowd, but like there were some parts in the show where it's like half the people are like have their phone up, like videotaping. Like
what happens to all of those? It's either like, okay, maybe somebody like legitimately is like an influencer and like uses that for something, but more than half of those go nowhere. People forget that they're there, but they just want to like capture the moment instead. It just goes in their phone to the weird ether.
Well, yeah, I picture most people kind of recording it, be like, oh, I want to remember this, but it's like it's so insane to like just kind of take an overview of like a crowd and just the amount of people who are watching the show through their phone. It's not only, I mean, it's a little distracting. To
anybody else who's just trying to watch. Right. Yeah,
but then it's also like, I don't know how much you're actually engaged with the show itself with that. So I don't know.
There's one time I tell the story really quickly, and then we can get on to some other stuff. But I played a show in the UK. The name escapes me of the town that we're in, or the city or whatever. But there's like 9 people there, right? Not many people.
Love it.
We're the opening band, and we're playing. And as I'm playing the whole thing, there's a guy like straight up on me, like right in the front. He's, and you know, this was like this, the stage was like maybe this big, so there's like not a lot of like room. I'm not like on a pedestal. I'm like basically at eye level almost with this folks in the crowd, and he's literally like this close to me, but he's on his phone. And dude, I am rocking my shit, like playing, you know, doing what I do. And
If you
he's
haven't
like,
seen Darren in live, I attest that he's rocks his shit. So,
yeah, yeah.
just a sec.
Thank God you're here to like people know that I do sometimes. But yeah, so going a little crazy and doing my thing, and he's on his phone and he's looking at it and not looking up, and like right in front of me. So I'm like looking, I don't see his face at all. He's buried in his phone.
Yeah.
And at one point at the end of the song, I said, "What's going on? Anything cool going on there or whatever?" And he was so embarrassed. I was like, "What do you think? No one's going to notice you? You're right up against me here. Like no one's going to know." Like, I don't know.
Well, you said there were only like a handful of people in the whole venue.
Yeah,
And
I mean, not 9. I might have been like 30 people, but it was like, you know, lighter than most shows that we've played. You know,
like, so if there's that many people, the dudes, anybody sitting like standing right up front are pretty like visible to everybody in the whole venue.
Well,
right?
what I kind of figured is that, like, you know, we were playing with a band called Medina Lake that was the headliner, and I have a feeling that guy was just trying to get a spot, you know, and he didn't know who the hell KLB, that line bitch, was. So he's probably just like waiting there for the band to play, but like he's on his phone. I'm like, dude, it's fucking rude as hell. Like here I am trying to entertain you, and you know, you don't even want to give us a chance. I get it if we suck, but you know, shit. Maybe we did suck. I don't know. I can't.
No, it sounds like you handled that perfectly. I mean, you just, if you can publicly shame somebody just in a little way, it's usually the best tactic. So.
Yeah, I didn't knock the phone down or anything, so I just did that. But all right, well, hey, so before we get into the song pick of the week, do you mind if I do a little self-plugging?
I mean, of course. I mean, that's
Are you
what I
here
try
for
to
it?
do all the time. So, I mean, I usually point out which fantastic new painting you got each week, and this Elmo one, I'm a huge fan of.
Oh, thanks, dude. Okay, so yeah, there's like a triptych series that I've done. So I mentioned last week that I got into this great gallery called La Luz De Jesus, and oh my God, I finally got to post that and talk about it, and I'm so pumped to drop off the art. And it is a big deal. This is a fucking big deal for me. I worked really hard, and it's a big gallery. I'm pumped about it. But I mentioned that I did some other ones to try to, you know, it's a juried exhibition, so you have to like submit things, and like the person who curates the art either likes it or they don't. And I don't know, these ones didn't make it. It's not that they're not, you know, I don't know why they didn't pick them, but you know, either way, they were part of a series, and that was the one that got in was Big Bird on the blue line. Did you see that one?
Oh yeah,
And
loved it.
Did you see the book that is reading?
I saw he was reading. I'm sure. No, tell me.
So it's a book on stoicism, and he's got his briefcase there. And so like the idea behind that one is just like, you know, here's Big Bird goes and like has to entertain kids all day, but in the background, like the world is blowing up and there's like shit on fire, and he's on the blue line, just like all of us poor schmucks who have to work in the working place do. And like he's reading about, you know, stoicism and how to maintain. And I just love that, because this is kind of the point of all of the series, right? Like Elmo, fucking amazing, full of life character that we all love, is, you know, innocent and everything, but there's pills in front of him, right? And I'm leaving it sort of up to you to think about, like, what are those pills? Are they drugs? Are they for depression? Are they for anxiety? Are they for behavior, like to you know, bring you down to a moderate level? I don't know, you tell me. But I love that, and his like expression kind of says it all, like, should I or shouldn't I? And I think this one is so great. They're all oil on wood panel too, 12 by 12. And then this one I posted today. Man, I really love this one too. And this is just like, you know,
Miss Piggy, yeah.
Sometimes life is this way, you know. She's so into fucking Kermit the Frog, right? So into him, but when she finally gets him, this is what her life becomes. I just love that shit. Like, what, like, you know, what happens when it's not all rose-colored glasses, you know?
I mean, anybody paying attention to the Muppets knew Kermit was going to end up a raging alcoholic. So the writing was on the wall. And so Piggy's got to take a little responsibility for that. So
Yeah, so I thought those were kind of fun. And then I got to give a little props out to a friend of mine, Alex. She came up with this idea. She wanted to do a private class. And so anybody out there, if you're interested, I teach private classes, art classes. You can get those through my website. And she had this idea. She loves Stranger Things. And she's like, hey, would you want to like help me put together something with like a demogorgon? And so we talked back and forth about what it would be. And she's like, I really like the idea of it eating a salad because it's different. Like a demogorgon would usually eat a person, right? And I was like, that's cool. I like that, you know? So this one I just finished the other night, and it's pretty detailed.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that, you said demogorgon? Is that a specific character from Stranger Things? I still haven't seen it.
Yep. This is and there's a little thing in the salad that she likes too. It's like they become demo dogs or whatever. It's
I can definitely see
Dark.
the Carpenter influence in that character design for sure.
I mean, right? It's like a flower or something. It's weird. But anyway, so that's my little plug for that. And then,
oh yeah, you've been busy this week, man.
Oh my God, you have no idea. Okay, so but I love it. I fucking love it. I do art every day, man. I fucking love it. And so on top of all that, this is the one that I'm excited for the most. This came in the mail today, and I'm going to make sure that I post it on our social media.
Oh man.
So if you're not watching right now, you guys, this is the official Remainders coffee mug, and it says Remainders, a Darren Varel and Patrick McIntyre podcast.
What a delicious treat that is.
Awesome,
inside
right?
and out. Oh, that's so beautiful. Such a great design, by the way. Like, I mean, this design Darren came up with and captures it so perfectly. What do you got?
Yeah. So when we first started,
was that a fake sip or was that real?
What's that?
What do you have in there? Coffee?
No, this is just water. Yeah, okay, there'll be some wine in there tonight. But the main thing about the design, just because you mentioned it, I remember when I first did it, we were doing books, movies, and then what was the third one? Music, right? And so that was what the three colors represent on our logo. There were always going to be, when we would have an episode about movies, it would be blue, or the different colors. And so I kind of, that's why it incorporates all of that. And I still think that makes sense. I know we just talk mainly about the movies now, but we still talk about literature and we still talk about music. So I think it all makes sense in there. And I like I kind of like the logo and how that came out. And I like that I added now a Darren Varel and Patrick McIntyre podcast. I had to put my name first there. So,
I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less from you. So, no, man, it's fucking great to be on some swag with you for this endeavor. I love it.
Okay. And one last thing, if you don't mind, and this is more self-deprecating. No, not self-deprecating, but self-indulgent. So nice. I got this white Varel hat in today. And so, yeah, look at that baby. This is, I have these in, I got one that's red with a black embroidered Varel logo. And then I have one that's all black hat with a yellow embroidered Varel. They're all on my website. This is such a fucking great cap. It fits awesome. It's like kind of like we were just talking about 80s kind of like style trucker hat, but they're really, really comfortable, and they look great. And then
it is a beaut.
And then I got this, and I have to show it real quick. So Varel hoodie, dude, come on.
Love it. Look at that.
I'm wearing this one to the Lost Boys tomorrow when it gets chilly at night. Fucking love that. So yeah. Anyway,
what we need to get your brother dressed up in that hat, that hoodie, and then the white shoes from the original Vacation that Cousin Eddie gives Clark.
Yeah, totally. He's at Disney right now. There's a Plain White Tees are playing. He decided to take his son to Disney just for a trip, and the bonus is that Tom and those guys are playing. And he sent me a picture today, and no joke, he bought one of these hoodies, and but it's like a army colored one.
Nice.
And then he bought the hat with the yellow embroider, and he's like representing here at Disney. And I was like, oh fuck yeah, dude.
He already beat me to the idea.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's kind of funny that you mentioned it. So anyway, those are my darrenvarel.com items of the week, and the Remainders mug is on there as well. So we'll post that though on our social media so people can buy one if they want, or there's also a t-shirt with that logo as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having my morning coffee in one of our mugs for sure.
Yeah.
So,
okay, cool. So song of the week, you want to switch over?
Let's do it. How about you go first? What do you feel?
All right. So I went on a run the other day, and I've been talking about this lately. I've just been loving going on runs because I can again.
You're back in it?
Yeah, back in it, and it's nice to feel like I talked about it last week, but just like, you know, mentally, I'm in here working all the time, and so just getting out there and running has been nice. I have to take it a little slower, but that's okay. You know, life changes on you, and you just got to do it differently. And so when I've been out lately, I've been listening to a lot more music, and that's another benefit of like going and exercising, is putting those headphones on and just like really, digging into something and feeling energized. And there's a lot of stuff I could talk about, but what I kind of threw on the other day for like a jog, not a run, was the first Fountains of Wayne record. Have you ever heard that record?
I think the only record of theirs I've listened to is the one with Stacy's Mom, which is an amazing record. I think that's
that's our third record. Yeah,
that's
and it is amazing. Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with their earlier stuff.
This record was like the soundtrack for like me and Tom driving around in his old Bronco back in the day. I could put it to like the soundtrack to like my first girlfriend. Like it's just like all the things growing up, and it has so many. There's so many great memories that are attached to these songs, and it is very simple. It's very like 90s power pop. I believe it came out in 94, maybe 96. In fact, 96 sounds better to me. But Adam Schlesinger, who died of COVID in 2020, unfortunately, was a very, very gifted songwriter. And this was his band with Chris Collingswood, who's the singer. And I believe those two met in like college, and they just started the band. And in this record was them two. And then they kind of like got a band together after that. But it's a major label debut. They had a song called Radiation Vibe from it, which was their single back in the day. The song there's a lot of great songs on here. And a lot of their songs are kind of like everyman, like sort of like I'm stuck left in my own hometown where everybody else is moving on outside of me, or like this is what our parents go out and do when us kids stay home and play. Very simple life stuff. Sometimes tongue-in-cheek, a lot of times tongue-in-cheek lyrics and stuff like that. But there's this like, Adam Schlesinger is pretty famous for writing the song That Thing You Do for the movie. And so this is his band. And the second song on this record is called Sink to the Bottom. And it's literally one of my favorite songs of all time. And it came on during a jog the other day. And it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And I was just like, wow, this song is so good. And I've been thinking about it for a while, because it's been one of those songs that since I heard it has like been never a skip. We always hear it and you hear it differently, or you just kind of like really makes your day, or it brings you back to a time that was simpler or beautiful. And I just really love this song. So anyway, that's my pick of the week. And if you haven't heard much of that band, I would say those first two records are really leading up to the third one. Like their third one was their triumph, right? But those first two records were really, really good too.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I'll definitely listen to it. Like I said, they're Welcome Interstate Managers is their 2003 album. That's the one with Stacy's Mom. I'm just thinking of the Mexican wine, the opener on that album.
Yeah, great.
That's such a great song. That whole album's great. So I should definitely listen to their previous ones. Definitely got traction. I mean, the earlier ones are popular on Spotify compared to their other ones as well. But so you're blowing my mind kind of. I kind of totally maybe knew that. So Adam how do you say his last name?
Schlesinger.
I'm gonna let you just say that. I feel like I kind of knew that he wrote That Thing You Do from the Tom Hanks movie, but I totally forgot about that because I fucking love that movie. Like I watched the shit out of that movie when I was a kid. That song is like amazing. It's just like it's amazing that like it's like a movie like that hinges on whether or not you actually have a good song or not. Like if they like if they didn't have a like such a catchy song, like that entire movie just would have been.
It
like,
is the entire pulse of the movie.
Yeah,
has to run on that song, and that has one of the best catchphrases or taglines of all time. And I kind of like have made it my tagline for the last couple of years.
the movie or the song?
The movie.
The movie.
So my girlfriend has the poster in her apartment, which is another reason why I knew that she fucking ruled when I met her, because she had that and the Vertigo poster in her place, and I was like, this is the girl for me. But the tagline of that movie is sooner or later, that dream you dream becomes that thing you do.
Boom, talk about a mic drop of a tagline.
Yeah. Perfect. It's perfect. So anyway, he wrote that song.
That movie doesn't get enough love, I feel. Like I feel like there's like nostalgia for it, but I mean it certainly wasn't like, held up as like any masterpiece.
I mean, it's got a huge fan base for the people that love it. I mean, it's not like, known as the greatest film of all time, but the people who love it really, really love it. Yeah.
So good. Early his name's forgetting me.
Steve Zahn.
Yeah, he's so good.
He's so good in White Lotus, dude.
Which I've been meaning to watch. Yeah, I have not checked that one out. Everybody
I know you're not
one.
like huge on the TV stuff sometimes. Not that you're against it,
but
a lot of those things they do play out like movies. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. Well, I mean, all the best, not the best, but like the writing has just soared in quality, obviously in TV over the last 20 years. That's like the biggest trend of it.
I guess that's timely to talk about right now, huh?
There is, totally. It's like that's it's become so much more popular in the conversation. But it really is just a mindset. Like if I'm gonna put myself in front of a screen, I'm just more trained to watch a movie, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like I should be watching some of the better stuff. Like I'm about to binge the last season of Succession.
Yeah.
And some of the TV that I do keep up with is the new I Think You Should Leave season, which I fucking highly recommend. Some of the best sketch comedy of the last 20 or 30 years. It's
my girlfriend loves that. Yeah.
Tim Robinson is a fucking treasure. And those, I mean, the slow burn of those skits, we'll be watching them for years, I think. But yeah, I mean, I should check it out. White Lotus.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things for me too. Like sometimes at the end of the night, I don't want to like put a movie on because I know that I want to really like get into it. And like if I'm tired or whatever, like that's when the TV comes in at the end of the night. I've like worked all day, whatever I'm doing here. And so those like always kind of like end up getting my attention a ton. But I go into it thinking like, well, I don't have to pay as much attention as if I put on Body Heat, for example.
Right. I mean, yeah, I totally get that. Like I split movies up all the time. Like I don't do it intentionally or anything. I'll watch a whole movie. I'll try to finish it in one sitting, but like I have no problem with just watching half a movie one night and then finishing it the next night or whatever.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not doing anything wrong by not watching enough TV, but I know I'm missing out on a lot of good stuff.
It's all good. I think we'll talk a lot once you do watch the session. And
then the other half is I just want to rewatch 6 Feet Under. So like if I'm going to watch a drama, I'll just pop that back on. So
right.
Cool.
So your song pick of the week.
Yeah, so I have The Cure next week. I'm not picking a Cure song. I've already done that.
You've been down the Cure path, but that doesn't mean we're done. If you want to add
another. No, yeah, I'll be recommending their stuff. I mean, one of my favorite bands of all time. Going to see them on a couple shows next week. So I've just been re-listening to them. So not a lot of new stuff, but so one of my picks is a instrumental from a band that I really love. So like half the music I actually listen to is like instrumental. It's like usually what I put on sometimes more passively if I'm like writing or just working at the desk or whatnot. I'm not usually putting on anything with like lyrics or anything. And I love like classical music. I love modern classical, post-rock. But again, it's like a lot of, sometimes I listen to it passively and not as engaged, but some artists more than others. And Hammock is a band that I really love. They're kind of a combination of like a post-rock, Brian Eno, classical kind of mix between all those three. And they've been getting some traction the last couple of years. One of my favorite albums that I'll be recommending a song from came out in 2017. It's called Mysterium. It's the title track Mysterium on Hammock's album. It's just got a perfect vibe of like kind of what I listen to in the background when I'm not listening to like anything like fast like the Ramones or whatnot. So yeah, this is a song. It's kind of got like a two distinct sections of it, one sounding kind of more ambiance, and then the second half kind of bleeding into a more classical sounding vibe, almost like a hymn, like a church hymn, to be honest. And yeah, it's just a band that I've always loved since I started making music, and one that it's kind of like a default band and genre that I put on if I'm not listening to anything like actively. So
cool. Yeah. Is it I've never heard of the band for Hammock. That's the name. Hammock is the name.
Yeah, they've done actually a couple movie scores. They did a movie score for this movie called Columbus, which I really liked, which actually has the actress from White Lotus.
Not Stifler's mom.
No, it's the younger actress. She's kind of like a Southern Americana.
Oh, which season of what?
Haley Lou Richardson.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Columbus, pretty good movie. I saw it at the Gene Siskel with John Cho from Harold and Kumar and her. It's a pretty great character study. Parker Posey's in it. But anyway, they've done has done a couple scores, and I know they did that one. And so yeah, they just kind of gotten around subtly over the last like 10 years, and just a band I vibe with. And like I said, like it's easy to kind of overlook the amount of like modern classical that I really love, because it kind of often gets thrown in the same pot. And I mean, I have like an ear that enjoys it, but like I certainly can't differentiate. I've never been able to differentiate like types of classical musicians or like who does like what piece and whatnot. So it often kind of gets thrown in the same playlist together without a lot of separating the artists and whatnot.
I have to put that on. You know, a lot of times when I paint, I don't really like to listen to anything like too aggressive. You know, it's getting a little old man about it. But maybe this will be a cool soundtrack for that.
You mean you're not throwing bottles at the wall while you're painting and rocking out to?
I used to.
You somebody put something in my drink and then just like throw shit against the wall while you're painting.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
all Dee Dee
like
songs
time.
all day long. I just put on anything that Dee Dee's Love Kills, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, put on mashed potato. That'll make you want to. That'll definitely make you want to paint and get in a vibe.
Oh, it is Friday. I forgot that's the Friday. The vibes is the Dee Dee Ramone, Dee Dee King record.
Dee Dee King, mashed potato time.
Ahead of its time, man.
I'm just gonna add that to the playlist. I feel like I'm just gonna add that to the playlist just because.
Yeah, totally.
It feels like a staple. So.
Yeah, add that on there. But also in the show notes, maybe put a link to where people can buy the swag if they want on the if you remember it. That way, if anybody's listening and they want to, they can just go right into the show notes.
Hell yeah. Promote that stuff. Everybody wants a piece of swag with our names on it. I know I do. So.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you, it's this is year 3. Is that right?
Yeah.
So I saw something with everybody talks about like, you know, it takes 5 years if you're building a business for like it to become successful. Well, we got 2 more years to go. And not that, you know, we're not feeling successful, but maybe in another couple of years we'll have amassed a lot of great episodes for people to binge themselves and then we'll have more swag as it comes. But I think this is about the right time to add swag. It's about, you know, the midway of us doing our podcast. If you look at it in the 5-year business plan.
Hell yeah, love it. I've definitely been thinking about some more of the legacy episodes once we hit some milestones.
50. I know what
100.
going 50 is your pick. So
We're definitely excited for RoboCop at 50. That's definitely one that we're going to be leading up to, but definitely a couple other, like Boogie Nights is one that we just really got to celebrate as an episode, because I know that's one that we've been talking about forever. So
yes, sir.
And if
All right.
if anybody's listening, got any other suggestions, we like a lot of movies that we haven't even mentioned probably. So if you're feeling like a discussion on something, we're definitely open to it. Always looking for
Honestly, I'm gonna
we
put,
may forget.
and I'm gonna
about,
put
so.
this out there. You know, in the future, it might be nice to have a guest come on from time to time to talk about a film, and even possibly a guest from like a movie that we've covered. You know, I mean, maybe Josh Burge would come on and you know, we've kind of made contact with him. Maybe he would be cool enough to like want to come on and talk about his next movie that he's doing with Joel.
Yeah, I did see that. Notice that he's that has been greenlit. So man,
yeah,
talk about a burgeoning De Niro Scorsese duo right there between the two of them. So
totally, he's like in every film that I've seen, at least of Joel. So
yeah. Well, so great.
Okay, well, thanks for listening, everybody. Like I mentioned before, we're on remainderspod.com. All of the social medias are linked to that. You can buy the new coffee mug and t-shirt there and support the show. But another way of supporting the show is just sharing it, liking it. And then I know that the ratings really help a lot of shows. So if you haven't before and you like our show, please go and rate it on Apple or Spotify, I guess is the other places. Wherever you listen, it would really help us out. So we appreciate it. And then maybe in the future, we'll give away, maybe we could do some contests, you know, I mean, this is an always evolving thing and we're excited to connect with you guys more. So let us know if there's anything you want us to cover and we will do our best to put it on the list.
Hell yeah. Rate, review and subscribe. I know everybody says it, but it definitely does make a difference. So we definitely appreciate anybody listening still to the end. So it's fantastic. We appreciate you staying with us.
Yep. Your time is valuable and we don't take it for granted. We appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend, Pat. Hope you have a great weekend, man. Do some great stuff. Be artistic. Read some great books. And I'll see you back here next time.
Hell yeah. Talk to you later, bud.
All right. See you guys. Bye-bye.